Hello, 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 and welcome back to another edition of Fan Talk, your favorite podcast by your favorite fan. That is, of course, me, Kyle Brinchley, in the house on this Wednesday. Welcome to Fan Talk post St. Patrick's Day, post the Ides of March. March is honestly a top 3 month, if you think about it, because March Madness is officially here. It already started. They have the play-in rounds that started yesterday, today. The official bracket starts tomorrow, and we are all for it here at Fan Talk. Fan Talk's a podcast you can find anywhere you get your podcast. Fan Talk is a podcast by the fans, for the fans. And I know you're a fan. We got the sign, we got the Rogue One posters, we got the Rogue One sweater. Wow, it's a very special day. I'm so excited to be out here filming this episode. Welcome to Fan Talk. Let's jump right in. We're talking March Madness and March Madness only. Wow. I can't believe we're already back. Time flies. Like, I moved about a year ago, and so I remember watching the national championship last year in my new apartment, and I was like, wow, that doesn't seem like it was a year ago, but here we are back in March. The tournament has been released, and there is so much excitement around it. Like I mentioned earlier, the tournament has technically started, but officially gets underway on Thursday. If you have not submitted a bracket, you have 1 day, 42 minutes, and 3 seconds to do so, because brackets lock at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time on Thursday. Go make a bracket. Now, a lot of you honestly don't even watch basketball throughout the year, but you make the bracket because it's fun. It's a social activity. Maybe your work does a group. Maybe your friend group does a group. Maybe there's money on the line. Maybe there's bragging rights. Maybe your family gets really into it. It's super fun and exciting. I'm excited to talk about it today. I want to mention the local teams. BYU got a 6 seed. Utah State got a 9 seed. We'll talk about that in a second. The 1 seeds, of course, Arizona, Duke, Florida, and Michigan. I think all those teams are kind of favored to win. If you go onto ESPN, you can see who's the most picked champion. It looks like Duke, Arizona, Michigan, and Florida are the top 4 teams that people think, with Houston, UConn, Purdue, Iowa State. A lot of people say those are the 9 teams that could win it all. Iowa State, Purdue, UConn, Houston, Florida, Michigan, Arizona, Duke. That's only 8 teams. But those teams look pretty solid. Some people include Illinois. Some people include Arkansas. But if you want a little tidbit and you don't know who to pick as the winner, I'd pick one of those top 8 teams: Duke, Arizona, Michigan, Florida, Houston, UConn, Purdue, Iowa State. Or you can just have fun and pick your favorite color, pick your favorite mascot. I know a lot of people who do it that way, and it's kind of fun that way. This year was kind of different. Last year, if you go watch my episode last year I had a lot of beef with the committee and the teams that they placed where. In that episode, I talked about how there are teams that you know for sure are going to get in. And when you know that they're going to get in, maybe you place them in a spot and you kind of just leave them there. Regardless of how well they do, how well other teams do, you don't reevaluate their seeding. For example, this year, BYU 6 seed, they didn't really fluctuate at all. They kind of stayed there at the 6 line. Regardless of, they had an injury to Richard Saunders, they lost a couple games, they got hot at the end. The committee seemed to not really take those trends into effect, and they just kind of stuck them there at a 6 seed. That happens with a lot of teams. A lot of teams are projected with bracketology to be a certain seed, and then they kind of just sit there, and the committee almost is lazy and just says, okay, we're fine with them there. This year, I didn't have a lot of beef with it. Again, last year, I mentioned that whole episode was about, there was a lot of things that I did not like. I think overall this year, the committee got it pretty right. I think the bubble this year wasn't as strong. Obviously, Oklahoma, my team, Oklahoma, got left out. They were the first team out. Auburn didn't get in. San Diego State, New Mexico, these other teams that were close did not get in. I think the bubble was right. One could argue that Miami, Ohio, who didn't have any quad 1 wins, shouldn't have got in. But I think if you only lose 1 game the entire season, I think you should get in. I'm totally okay with Miami, Ohio getting in. Now, do I think they'll win any games? No, absolutely not. But I think they deserve to be there, right? And the whole point of bracketology is which teams deserve to be there. Which teams did enough, which teams impressed the committee enough, won enough games, did this or that to get in. And I think when you go 31-1, even if you're Miami, Ohio, I think you should get a spot. I do agree that they have to play in. They played tonight against SMU to just get in. I think that was a great decision. but I think they should have been in. Oklahoma, frankly, lost 15 games, and you probably shouldn't be in the NCAA March Madness tournament if you lost 15, unless you win the conference tournament, which Oklahoma did not. So I have no problems there. The one problem I do have is I went to school at Utah State. Utah State went 28-6 this year, won the Mountain West outright in the regular season, and then won it outright in the postseason. So they have 2 Mountain West championships just this year, only lost 6 games, and got rewarded with a 9 seed? A 9 seed? That seems odd. So the committee is like, okay, you only lost 6 games this year. You won the regular season Mountain West championship. You won the tournament. Let's give them a 9 seed. They're not even a lower seed. It's kind of interesting how the committee operates, and obviously I know that there's other teams that affect that. If they were like, oh, we put them at an 8 seed, or we put them at a 7 seed, I think a lot of people were thinking they'd be a 7 seed. Some very optimistic said 6, but I think 7 would have been fantastic because I think you should be rewarded for having a good record, winning the Mountain West regular season title, and then winning the postseason title, and all you get rewarded with is a 9 seed. That didn't sit well with a lot of people. But regardless, Utah State is favorable matchup over Villanova, but they are kind of trapped in that fearful 8-9 game where they will have to play Arizona if Arizona gets past Long Island, of course. But other than that, I think the bracket was pretty fair. I guess you can nitpick about seedings, but I think it was pretty fair. Not a lot of beef this year, not a lot of problems on the bubble. Let me know what you guys think down below with the March Madness seeding. Did the committee get it right? Are these seeds correct? What matchups are you most excited for? I'm excited for a lot of these matchups. And I was filling out these brackets. I know it's really fun and interesting to be like, okay, which matchups are gonna pull into an upset? Everybody's hunting for the upset pick. And I think there's some potential upsets. I think it was 3 seasons ago, there was a ton of upsets, but I don't think there's going to be a ton of upsets this time around, at least in the first round. I think once we get to the maybe second round, Sweet 16, Elite 8, there could be some upsets with, like 4 seeds taking out 1 seeds and whatnot. But as for this first round, I think I know a lot of people are high on High Point. I think I've only picked High Point maybe twice. I think I've made 10 brackets so far, so maybe twice. I do think that'll be a fun game. That is one people are watching. Of course, Northern Iowa. A lot of people are watching that with St. John's, but St. John's I think is a lot better team than people are giving them credit for. They're only a 9-point favorite. I think that number could be higher, but that's one people are watching. South Florida over Louisville. A lot of people are liking South Florida. South Florida's playing really good right now, just winning the American Conference. They're an 11 seed. Louisville is 6 seed. Maybe some people think Louisville is a 6 seed. Louisville should be more of an 8 seed. Perhaps Utah State should have been in that spot. But that's an upset pick that a lot of people are looking at. Miami and Missouri. Miami only a 1.5 favorite. That could be an upset. The 10-7 games are always fun because honestly, between 10-7, there's not a lot of fluctuation. You might be wondering, what do these seeds really mean? If you're a 1, 2, 3, or 4 seed, that means you're really good. And then 5 and 6, I would say, is their own category. And then 7 through 11, you can honestly be you could be a 7, 8, 9, 10, or 11 seed. There's not a lot of gap in between there. And then 12 and above is its own category. But that's a game that people could be watching. Vanderbilt McNeese. I think Vanderbilt's playing very well, so I'm not going to pick that upset this time around. Akron and Texas Tech. Now, Texas Tech had one of the best players in college basketball in JT Toppin, but he went down with a season-ending ACL injury back in February. So Texas Tech has been shorthanded. They're banged up. A lot of people are liking Akron in this one. I still think Texas Tech gets past them in the first round, but doesn't go much further because they'll run into Alabama. And Alabama is a good team who I actually have in a lot of Sweet 16s and some Elite 8s in my brackets. VCU over North Carolina, same thing. North Carolina is banged up with some injuries. Caleb Wilson broke his thumb. He was their best player. VCU could pull off the upset. North Carolina only a 2.5 favorite in that one. Other than that, some people are liking Santa Clara over Kentucky. I think that one could be a very intriguing matchup. But I think other than that, it should be very chalk. And that means the favorites are favorite for a reason in this first round. But it could be interesting once we come to the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight, as I mentioned before. Non-1 seeds that I like, of course, Illinois down here in Houston. That should be a fun Sweet 16 matchup if everything goes according to plan. I think Illinois could very well get past Houston, but Houston is dangerous, so watch out for them. I like Iowa State as a 2 seed to make some noise. Again, I like Alabama as a 4 seed to make some noise here in the top. UConn and Michigan State, 2 and 3 seeds that can make some noise. But watch out for UCLA. A lot of people are thinking UCLA could upset UConn in the round of 32. Purdue playing well. Arkansas as a 4 seed, I think, could dethrone Arizona, could shatter a lot of brackets. And then, of course, you got St. John's and Kansas, who both have experienced coaches and the pedigree in March to make a run. So watch out for that. There's so much more coverage that we can be talking about in college basketball. If you guys need help with your brackets, DM me on Instagram. I will help you out. Honestly, part of the fun is just picking the teams on your own, because to be completely honest, experts sit down and tell you which picks to make. You can look at stats. You can look at the KenPom ratings. You can ask your friend who thinks he knows it all. But when it comes down to it, there is no sure way to actually predict a correct bracket, because there's just so many moving parts. The odds are just so far against you that it's nearly impossible to pick a correct bracket. So honestly, when it comes down to it, go with your gut, trust yourself, and just let it play out and enjoy the process that March Madness is. It should be super fun. Again, if you have questions, feel free to DM me or comment down below here on YouTube. DM me on Instagram. I have it linked in the description below. And let's get ready for the madness of March. I did want to mention one more thing outside of college basketball before we conclude this Fan Talk episode. The World Baseball Classic, I've been talking about this. It's like the World Cup of the baseball world. Last week I talked about it. The United States were fighting for a position into the next round. They got there with some help from Italy and fought their way all the way to the championship game. They beat the Dominican Republic, which was the powerhouse. Japan and the Dominican Republic were the two powerhouses that both lost in the semifinals. And the United States punched their ticket to the World Baseball Classic Championship against Venezuela. Venezuela, USA, Dominican Republic, these were teams that pretty much were just MLB rosters. Venezuela came out. They had the fans with them. The U.S. was flat. The U.S. didn't put forth their best pitchers. I mean, the season's about to start, so you don't blame them for not putting out their best pitchers. They put out Skeens in the semis to get them here. And the Venezuelan national team wins for the first time in their history in the World Baseball Classic. They are the 2026 World Baseball Classic champions. The United States only had 3 hits. Venezuela, 6 hits. They win 3-2 and get that title. Good for them, honestly. Good for them. Venezuela's had it rough for the last little while, so good for them. All right, guys, that's all I have for you today here on Fan Talk. Again, if you are watching on YouTube, please comment, like, subscribe. If you're on Spotify, please leave a review. And let's go watch some March Madness again. If you need help with your bracket, send me on Instagram or comment down below. Honestly, just go with your gut and let's have a fun time this March. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to Fan Talk. I'll see you guys next week for another edition of Fan Talk.